So here we are again. Uh, we have talked about the historical events and then the features of the age of Chaucer. When you talk about Chaucer, normally you may learn so many other things about his family, but generally speaking, his father was a wine merchant, and then when you talk about his education, he was highly educated. So means Chaucer was from a family, a well-to-do family, not poor, and then he had mm, uh, a good amount of education and learning to his credit that makes him suitable or provides him with a better chance to understand and to express his feelings and emotions. When it comes to his education, please remember that he was a civil servant also. He had a diplomatic role also in England. He was also associated with the king's court. So in that sense, he was a multidimensional personality when it comes to his experience and education. But this is not what makes us remember him in 2020. His singular contribution or the reason of his the reason of remembering him for us is not actually his education. Of course, this was in the background, and this really helped him become a great writer. But his literary contribution is more important. Now, focus this word, a realist. Now, this is more important. Why is Chaucer important and why is his contribution important? He was a realist, and realism is basically one of the good consequences of an educated person. If someone is educated, he would believe in reality and he would try to describe reality instead of pleasing other people or instead of speaking or sharing the reality. uh, those people who are less educated may not be uh, very good at speaking about the reality. But for becoming a realist, you need to have an understanding of what reality is, and then you have to have the skill of describing that same reality which you have understood. So, Chaucer was highly educated, but he was a realist too, and this realism mm, made him uh, write about the reality. And as an educated and having wide exposure to different fields of activity, he could not escape the mm, historical events, the features of his age, because he was a realist. So whatever he wrote about would have a mm, link and a relation with the events that he witnessed and the characteristic features that he found in his age. And of course, he will when it comes to realism, this becomes important. The corruption of the Catholic society. He was talking about this also. Then he was also talking about the mannerism of different classes in society. So this realism must be there in your mind when it comes to understanding basics about Geoffrey Chaucer. Okay, so here we have established that mm, he was a realistic writer. So his status as a writer is now established. Now, as a writer, we say that he was influenced by several periods, several people, and several languages. Now, when you generally look at the history books, the periods that historians describe, they say that the whole writing career of Geoffrey Chaucer can be divided into three periods. And apart from how these three periods can be divided, we combine the three periods into these French, Italian, and English. We say that throughout his writing career as a poet, he was influenced by French writers, French subjects, and French styles. Means he was having the ability of understanding French and Italian, and English, of course, was his native language. So he was benefiting from his local experience as a native of English language. At the same time, he had ample exposure to Italian literature like Boccaccio, and then French. There were other French writers who had influence on the mind of Geoffrey Chaucer. Means that you become a great writer, and for that you need accumulation of certain literary wealth, and that wealth Geoffrey Chaucer derived from his exposure and interaction with French and Italian writers, and of course their significant works. For your understanding and for my understanding of how much you have so far digested from this discussion, I would like you to search for French and Italian influences on Geoffrey Chaucer, or to identify those great masterpieces or those works of Italian and French writers which influenced Geoffrey Chaucer. These are the names of some of his famous works. We do not go into their details because you can search it for yourself. The Romance of the Rose, apologies, A Romance of the Rose, The Book of the Duchess. These are the two books which generally are categorized by historians as to have been influenced by French writers and their works. The Parliament of Fowls, The House of Fame, The Legend of Good Women. Again, in this Troilus and Cressida, these are four works of Geoffrey Chaucer which historians attribute to the influence of Boccaccio on Geoffrey Chaucer. So normally when it comes to your syllabi, you do not have these works in your syllabus. So what you do as a student of English history is that you try to maximize your knowledge or increase your understanding of Geoffrey Chaucer by searching about for the information or the content of these writings. You need to study or search these books, these works of Geoffrey Chaucer, and try to pick the best, or means the work that you have found more appealing to you, and then you make it part of your information or your knowledge. And then later on, when you will be studying Geoffrey Chaucer as a poet in your poetry class, these works are going to help you in understanding the contribution of Geoffrey Chaucer. So these are the influences, you can say, or the background of Geoffrey Chaucer, which enabled him to produce quality works like these that we have listed here. Then coming to his role in English literature, we say that he is father of English literature. People call him the father of English poetry also. Now, why do we call him father, or why do we call him so much significant in our discussion when we talk about the medieval literature? And remember that when we talk about Geoffrey Chaucer and when we say that he was father of English literature, this is applicable or acceptable even today. Means people still have a great sense of respect and acknowledgement for the contribution of Geoffrey Chaucer. We as students of English history try to learn as to what were the major reasons behind calling him father of English literature. Now coming here, one of the first English poet known by name means that there were very few writers of um, repute in the medieval times. Some of them are not known to us. Some have their names shrouded in history. About some other writers, we may not be very clear about who they were and what was their actual contribution. There may be disagreements and disputes regarding their roles and their contribution in history, but Geoffrey Chaucer was among those few great poets who are known to us without doubt. So this is one good reason of calling him father of English literature or poetry. Another point was his language became the standard for the later modern English. So when you talk about the modern English, when you talk about English in the Renaissance and in the rise of English language and the different periods through which English passed to become an international language, uh, actually Chaucer was one among those few individuals who laid the foundation of that particular dialect which now reigns supreme in the world. So this is another good reason of calling him the father. Another reason is his masterpiece, The Canterbury Tales, is a portrait of English society of that time. Now this is a highly loaded sentence. I wish I could have some good words to make you understand without spending a lot of time as to what do we mean when we say that it is a portrait of English society of that time. And we may not be able to justify this statement in few words or few sentences, but just to uh, leave this point here and coming here to the Canterbury Tales, because here we are talking about the Canterbury Tales and it is also here. Here you see that mm, uh, please look at here. We say it is the portrait. You know portrait. It's a kind of a picture reflecting or telling you about the various subtle aspects of something. So it was the Canterbury Tales, individual and type. Now this is important for you. Please note when we say individual and type, it is actually we are talking about the characters in the Canterbury Tales. Uh, Characters in the Canterbury Tales are individuals and type at the same time. Now, what do we mean by individual and type? Individual is your individual personality. We are all individuals. We are different from one another. So, in a sense, my behavior is different from your behavior. And your behavior is, of course, different from the behavior of other people. And in this sense, we say that we are all individuals. So you can't blame me for what you do. You can't give credit mm, to me for your behavior because we are individuals. And then we are type also. By type we mean typical characters. Typical characters mean that you are also representing a section of a society. For example, I am a teacher. So as a teacher, I am a type also. I am a human being, I am an individual. I may not behave like other teachers do, but then there are many things associated with the profession of teaching. And being part of that profession, I cannot escape those qualities or characteristics. So, in a sense, as a teacher, I am an individual and then as a type. When you talk about the Canterbury Tales and when you study the characters, you notice that they are individuals, the characters, and then they are types. For example, there is one character whose name is the Knight. The Knight is an individual character because, for example, the Knight, it may not be true to the that particular character. I'm just giving you an example. The character of a knight is individual if you are talking about his eating habits. He eats a lot. Now, it does not mean that every knight is going to eat a lot. He sleeps a lot. But then fighting is something that is typical of the knight class. So in that sense, if you talk about his qualities, his professional commitment, then these are typical qualities. And individual qualities are again, as we have said, specific to individuals. So this is one characteristic of the characters of the Canterbury Tales. And when we talk about the portrait of English society, it means that he has gathered several people. Okay, again, if I explain this point a little bit further, the characters in the Canterbury Tales are not representatives of a single class. Means there is a representative of the fighting class, there is a representative of the merchant class, there is a representative of the religious class, and there were representatives from many other classes. And all these characters were individuals and types at the same time. So this was the quality of the great quality of Chaucer, that he presented both aspects of all the professions in which he included in the Canterbury Tales. So this was one important characteristic or art of Chaucer by describing the individual and the type. He has written a general prologue, and in this general prologue he has introduced characters, and then the setting, and then the time, and then the place of the whole happening that is covered in the Canterbury Tales. So remember that in this prologue there were some 29 characters, and I am extremely apologetic for not describing what Canterbury Tales is all about. I know that a majority of you do not know what is the Canterbury Tales. So let me give a brief intro to the Canterbury Tales. Actually, Chaucer has written the Canterbury Tales, and according to the story, or according to the text of this Canterbury Tales, there is a shrine in the Canterbury Tales. You know, shrine of Saint Thomas Becket, and these people are going to pay homage to the shrine the way we Muslims perform Hajj, or the way the Sikh community go to this the recently opened place in towards the Indian border by Pakistani government. I don't exactly remember the name, but it's you know the Sikh community. You can, if I remember the name, I will share it with you. Anyways, so it's a kind of a pilgrimage, and he says that these 29 people they gathered in a place. It was like an inn where the people stay, and during their stay, before they started off for the pilgrimage to Canterbury, they decided that each of them will narrate a story, maybe two stories each person or one story each person, and this was how they would spend the time, and they would like the journey that was going to from اوږده وکنه. نو په دونه اوږده لاره کې خو به یو بل ته قیسې کوي چې فیصله وکړه چې یو بل ته به 29 کسان دي. په 29 کسانو کې تقریبا د هر پیشې که ډاکټر دی که وکیل دی که انجینیر دی په هغه وخت کې چې څومره پیشې وې د ټولو یو نماینده و. او په دې سرایي کې چې دو پاتې کېده نو هلته یې سلا وکړه فیصله وکړه چې هر سړی به په تلو په راتلو کې یوه قیسه کوي او په دې طریقه باندې به یو قسم د دا لاره تیریږي. نو چاسر ځان ته یو ماحول جوړ کړو، هوښیار سړی و پوهه سړی و. د هغه خو لکه د قلم نه به یې څه ایسته او د قلم زور پسې واو. نو ځان له یو داسې قیسه جوړه کړه چې په هغه یوه قیسه کې بیا بلا قیسې ور واچولې. نو دا دې ټولو ته موږ څه وایو؟ دې ته موږ کانټربري ټیلز وایو. نو په دې وجه باندې موږ چاسر له کریډټ ورکوو چې لکه دا دومره قابل او دومره پوهه او دومره آرټفل سړی و چې په کومه طریقه باندې او بیا په هغې د کیریکټرز د هغو ډسکرپشن و چې د هغوی انفرادي کم کوالټیز دي او هغو د خپلو پیشو سره ریلیټډ کم کوالټیز و لکه نو هغې ډسکرپشن. نو په دغه سینس کې چې دی نو دا دغه دی. بیا که تاسو په دې کې وګورئ یو سی دیټ دیس از portrait of feudal society. So of course this is not very technical. Portrait of feudal society means we know that medieval was a feudal society. So in a sense we also get a picture of what kind of society that was, what kind of classes existed, what kind of professions existed, and what were the attitude of people associated with different professions. And then this Canterbury, as I told you, it was a celestial city, means heavenly city, or means something like the way we have these different shrines like Pir Baba, Sedu Baba, Kaka Seb, all these. We say that the shrines that are located there, that these are respectable places, they are soulful places. If you go there, you get peace of mind, you get solace, and you get internal joy that most of us struggle for and aspire for. And then the shrine symbolizes restorative power of the saint parallel to nature. And of course this has religious overtones when you say that visiting a shrine or visiting a holy place is always blissful, and it aids to your satisfaction and aids to your joys. So that is why we say that it has a religious importance too. So with this we close this discussion with the hope that you have somehow got the idea as to who Chaucer was and what was his contribution. We do not discuss Chaucer in greater detail for several reasons. One reason may be that we are history students. Another reason may be that it may confuse us, and our basic aim at this point of time is to clarify our concept. And another reason that is we hope that in the next coming courses, when we will get a chance to read and to learn about Chaucer as a poet and his contribution, then things will become clearer and clearer. For the time being, as students of history, not so advanced at this level, I think that this is enough for us about Chaucer. Those among you who are still interested and they feel that if we have not really done justice with the contribution of Chaucer, they have every right to search any material they find of value and significance for them. They can enrich their knowledge through research. Uh, so here I go. If you have any problem, if you have any query, you are always welcome to ask. I would request mm, you as good students and as caring individuals to share this information with your fellows so that many and many of us get a chance to benefit from the little knowledge that we share for the greater good of humanity. Thank you very much.